about our growth in our professional career pathway, and we want to climb the ladders. We want to get into a more challenging environment that brings to bear the fullness of our capacity.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Fair enough. I know the people there, listeners, will have another, thinking about it and say, okay, you needed to be around.
Well, I think we've settled that. I don't know. I think we've settled it so far.
Okay, but it
Yeah.
is what it is.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Super Morning Show, guys.
Thank you, TT. Thank you.
Thank you, TD. It's a
How's the
pleasure.
LRA doing?
Good as always. The LRA, which is the tax administration institution of the government, is keeping in tandem with her core duties and core functions. Basically, ensuring that there's enhanced tax compliance and making sure we increase the numbers for the benefit of the country, for the benefit of the people. And so that's exactly what we are sticking to, and ensuring that we do all we can within our domestic resource mobilization strategy, and of course keeping to the books. That's the Liberia Revenue Court. We're making the tax regime better than ever before.
Are the citizens responding positively?
Obviously, I think there's a strange turnaround, especially when you look at how the numbers are progressing, in an upward, in a rather consistently, increasing trend since 2014, or since this government took over. The numbers are quite impressive, and I think that speaks to the fact that Liberians are also getting more aware of how taxes would benefit the country and how taxes would benefit them as individuals.
So every year we make a big jump or a little jump?
Well, the jump is significant. At least we've been able to increase the digits, between 1 to 2 digits additional. So that in itself shows a very impressive trend in the tax growth rate.
Great. And
Yeah.
it's good to hear. I hear you have launched what you call tax. What is that? What does that mean?
Yeah, so the integrated tax administration system is actually a new model of tax administration. And of course, we are transitioning from the former tax administration system, which was the SIGTAS, the standard integrated, system, which is a bit more manual. And so we're, as part of our tax modernization plan, we're moving towards the integrated tax administration system. That one is going to provide a superb online connectivity with all of our taxpayers. It's going to be a system that will allow taxpayers to sit from their comfort zones, from their homes, private places, and even public places, and just do your online registration, online filing of your taxes, online payments. Is going to ensure that you get online receipts, through that very same system. Of course, you are able to also look at how your taxes have been paid, your current status, and all of that. So this system is as part of LRA's own commitment to the WTO's trade facilitation agreement. All right, that is moving all countries into the direction of the HS 2022. We're talking about a harmonized system of tax administration, where we are now leaving from manual taxation and ensuring that all countries that are signatories to the WTO can in a way migrate to that online thing. And so all of our processes now are about going digital. And so the ITIES, which is a 5-year project, is being piloted at the moment. It's going to be piloted for 1 year because we have to build the infrastructures around it.
All over? It will be piloted all over?
No, so the LRA is building the system with help from our contractors. So we've contracted And of course, it was through the support from EU. All right, we've been able to contract the a group called Arabsoft from Tunisia, and of course another group called Farsight Africa Group Limited from Kenya. This joint collaboration is going to work in ensuring that we have a modernized integrated tax administration system, at least in the next 5 years. So for the first year, it's going to be piloted with across the country in a way. Once it's set, then we're going to pilot it. And after it's piloted, we're going to test it out for the next 2 years. And then following that, there's going to be a 2-year warranty period. So the contractors are going to stay with us to making sure that all of the different infrastructural elements, the different tools that they're put into the system, that to make sure that is user friendly, that is working properly, and that it is providing just the right kind of requirements, or the right kinds of tax requirements that are expected to come out of the tax arrangement.
So, with all of, I hear you say, the EU is putting a lot into this also. What is their intent? What do you hope to realize in terms of revenue generation if as a country, graduate to this tax
Okay.
system?
So my colleague will come into buttress, but just before he comes in, the ATAS, like I said, is going to serve some very key purposes. One of them is that there's going to be a lot of getting away from the human interaction with taxes.
Which is a good thing, but you still
Which
want
at
to
the end
get
of the
more
day,
out of this,
yes,
right?
because the human interaction, the more the human interaction, the more the leakages, some of which we just can't control. So when everything is sent online and everything is being processed through a dedicated, well-monitored system, then you are sure that people's taxes that are not just regulated will be sent to the right destination, and you
used
can
for the
monitor
intended
and use for the intended purpose.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
It sounds very, very good. So we don't have to then deal with people now.
Yeah, you deal.
lot.
Of course, you would deal with people, but at a limited
Yeah.
rate.
Okay.
It will not be everything that you must to get a TIN number. You must go and sit and do it manually. To pay your taxes, you must go and so the tax services division, of course, is going to be there. Is a key component of our tax service delivery, system. So they're always there to help taxpayers out with all of these different processes I just, talked about. But the fact that taxpayers can sit all by themselves and be able to run through, especially those who have the capacity to do so, that in itself would say that we've moved upward, the tax chain. And that is going to certainly widen some of the gains that are anticipated.
Okay, some of the gains. So we've heard of,
TETEE, on the revenue side, like VARFEE said, LRA as an institution has been in the vanguard of moving, from manual systems to digital systems, and it shows in most of our services provided to taxpayers, because we live in a world where when the more people temper with, physical cash, there are times where leakages can occur.
the tendency for them to steal is
Definitely,
very high.
definitely. And at times
True.
you cannot track these systems because, it's manual. People can cross off numbers and all of that. So the ATAS system provides, one, improved tax compliance. It also provides increased revenue, because when there are leakages to the system, you will not realize the kind of revenue needed, for many different, government development initiatives. But when you have a system where, as long as people are entering the rightful numbers into the system, they cannot be tampered with after entry. One thing that this ATAS system also does is that it helps with things like online registration. That is, for example, you wanted to get a TIN, and you can go online by yourself eventually and be able to do that, and then get a feedback from the system that tells you that, Daniel ANKRAH, for example, having answered all the questions, now here is your TIN, you can proceed, in your tax business. It also helps business people and individuals to file their taxes online. Now, some of these things are already happening, but this integrated tax administration system seeks to take it to another level. You know, you don't want to enter a system where the system is, you know, there are glitches, there are hitches, and these kinds of things. So the system is being built in a way that it serves you in real time. Most importantly, people also do not want to come to LRA headquarters just to come and pay taxes. You know, you want to sit right in the studio before your show, TT, and be able to pay your real estate taxes, for example, before coming or before getting on the show. So these are, you know, the advantages of what this system brings to the process. And
how informed are people about, you know, this is very good, where, you know, I don't have to leave from here, go to LRA, or to even call somebody from there and say, you know, I want to do this, I want to do that, but I can do it online. But it also comes with information.
Definitely, and that is why we're here, and that is why we're going out and about, and we'll be making series of appearances in the course of the week to tell Liberians that we're not just sitting at the LRA to collect your money, but we're also sitting at the LRA and carrying out initiatives that will also help you to be more convenient when it comes to tax payment. Additionally, the first phase that VARFEE talked about, the pilot phase, you know, is expected hopefully to be completed around early 2022. So what this will do, it will help to ensure things like tax registration, payment processing, these kinds of, you know, initiatives, and then 2 years follow, and then the next 2 years comes. So we're doing this at the LRA to ensure that Liberians can be able to pay their taxes in real time, one, and that we can increase the tax revenue mobilization strategy. Because what is
your strategy, and how much are you going to, you know, generate as a result of this?
Whatever we do at the LRA is towards revenue generation. That is the core function. You know, that is our legal mandate, our legislated mandate to collect lawful revenue. It is on us to be creative at the level of the LRA to ensure that we find new ways, we find new avenues, we find more convenient methods through which people can be able to pay their taxes and be able to pay the lawful revenue within real time, because some of these tax kinds have got, you know, due dates and different kinds of things. So you want to pay in real time. You don't want to go to the bank and wait for a manager's check. You don't want to go and stand in a long line just to pay your taxes. You want to sit and use your phone and use your laptop in your office or at your home and do those things without coming to our offices.
Which is a very good thing, Daniel, and we must applaud the LRA for that. But if we were making $1,000 and in 5 years you carry out this, what is your estimate? What do you think is how is it going to help, you know, revenue generation, you know, after you should have completed this tax is what I'm asking. Because, you know, I know what you do is to generate revenue, but I'll be encouraged, right? Because, and you people are tightening everything because you know that there are leakages. So sometimes as a result of these leakages, people are discouraged from paying taxes.
True.
So what are you going to say to me that, you know, now that we are, you know, moving to this system in the next 5 years, we believe that Liberia now, the budget that, you know, revenue collection is going to take care of a lot in this country because we'll be aiming at this amount of money. That's what I'm asking.
So just before VARFEE comes, just before VARFEE comes in, phase 2 of this project seeks to do a couple of things: provide risk analysis, you know, investigation, document management. One of the key things I like to highlight is revenue forecasting.
Okay.
Because when the numbers enter the system is able to help the LRA along with the on-site, you know, technicians, and technicians in this sense, not the, you know, builders of the system, but rather the financial and technical technicians on, you know, on that side, to forecast what revenue numbers would be. So it's all part of the system. This is not just to collect revenue, TT, but it's also to ease convenience. So you look at it on both sides. You know, as much as we're looking forward to increase revenue, but we're also looking forward to ensure that people can do this in real time. Because there are penalties, like penalties and interest, they don't come about on their own. They come about when you don't meet certain deadlines, and then people begin to cry, oh, the people charging us too much money. But if you were to pay in real time, you wouldn't have to go through the hassle of doing that. So this system also helps us to project, you know, and to forecast. Yeah,
right?
Definitely. Wow.
Sure.
Okay, so still on the RTAS, and let me be quick to mention that, you know, we're thankful to our partners. You know, I crisscross EU actually with the government of Sweden, but they're actually the ones supporting, you know, in collaboration, yes, with the international the International Development Association, that's the IDA. So the project being talked about, like I said, and I'd like to state this, that the Commissioner General of the LRA, okay, without bragging, he's a man of the books. And so the revenue code mandates that LRA should instigate or create or introduce certain measures or certain systems that would take us towards this whole tax modernization system, this whole digitization of of our tax system and the rest of it. And so there are legal bases for, say, the creation of the ITIs is right there in the revenue code. And then, very interestingly, because the ITIs cannot work in isolation, it is the big system. We are bringing digitization down to the taxpayers. All right, that's something we're going to talk about in depth. For example, we are now introducing or on the verge of introducing the electronic fiscal devices. They are handheld devices that will be placed at businesses of taxpayers, especially those who are going to be raising income tax, from the businesses that they do. Now, what that EFD is going to do is to ensure that there's a daily recording of all of the business transaction from a particular taxpayer. And so with that device, which is connected to the system, the bigger system, we're able to see, for example, that this person who does this big business, hotel management or restaurant business, they are generating X amount of revenue in a day's time. And over time, we're able to, without them even telling us, we're able to determine what your income tax payment would be.
You think they're understating, right?
Of course, there are understatements, and that's one of the leakages to explain, right? There are understatements. There are people who are, in fact, concealing assets that should really be taxed, all right? And there are too many leakages. And as a result of that, we believe that a very robust digitized system can help to deal with most of these emerging problems.
So anyone who resists, you're saying that there are laws
you will be penalized. Okay. And what is very good about the EFD, I was reading about it, is a very interesting device. Is working in other countries like Nigeria, Ghana, and it's a part of the whole a new convention, that was signed by the WTO, the revised convention, even the World Customs Organization. They are mandating that all of these countries would gravitate to this level where we can sit in our offices and monitor the tax regime. So people don't have to say, this is what, declare, this is what I made, and based on that, I'm filing this. We're saying that people have been under declaring a lot. So with the EFD, which every business person, once it is launched, right, it's going to be launched on October 1st, and once it is launched, it's going to be piloted with a few mainline businesses, like people into restaurants, people into hospitality businesses, and different kinds of mainline businesses, supermarkets and all of that. They're going to have the EFDs. Okay. And these devices will be monitored with a unique code that is assigned to it. So every transaction that is done by a buyer or a consumer, you will have to input that transaction. You will have to generate a fiscal receipt online, and that particular information goes straight to the ITIs, which is monitored. Matter of fact, it's right on the phone of the Commissioner General, because all of the fiscal receipts must have the signature of the Commissioner General, without which it is not deemed genuine. So there are a lot of monitoring processes that will come into play when the EFD is finally launched. You're going to see it. You're going to see our...
It's something that is going to be attached to their own system that, there's no way they can fake that.
No, so we create, we get those EFDs and we tell them buy the EFDs from this place, then you register it with the LRA system. Okay. And once the LRA system is registered on that, then we're able to monitor those devices. Okay. and in a timely way too. So every day we get a whole litany of your daily transactions from the time you started selling to the end of the day. So we tell you without you telling us how much you've generated. So at the end of the day, when you're filing income taxes, of course, it's also going to promote integrity in the system.
Do that with all of the businesses.
All of the businesses. That again is another project that will be rolled out, of course, in the next over time, in the next couple of years. We're gonna roll that out. But it's, I mean, we're gonna start by piloting it with a few mainline businesses, medium, large businesses, and we're going to train. We've already trained up to 20 custom officers. Sometime in July, there was a training of custom officers and tax officers who will be responsible for the piloting, right? So
that thing you're talking about, all of the businesses we have in this country, if you will have to.
No, so we say, so the piloting is the initial phase of it.
Okay.
Right, with a few businesses, selected businesses that will be monitored and all of that. But of course, by the time the launch is done in October, and we get the fiscal devices, we're going to come back and give you more detailed information as to how it's going to roll out, as to how the system will be monitored, and of course, how we can generate more revenue from that kind of tax policing that we're going to put into place.
How do you call it? EFD?
The electronic fiscal device. Yeah, the e-tariff too is another kind of a digital integration system that we're building. We have two core functions, obviously, and that is what makes us unique. I think all other ministries should now begin to look at this model example. We are the paragon of proper tax administration. So all other institutions across government should begin to look at it. Lately, the LPA, for example, which was initiated by the LRA, is now being rolled across different government ministries, thanks to the Commissioner General of the LRA, all right, who was very magnanimous to look into the need for staff welfare and staff motivation, and say how can these people's salaries, have a resounding impact on them over time. And that's how the LPA came into being. And thankfully, the government, through the CSA, was able to see our work, and they all jumped to it. And today we are talking about rolling out LPA in different institutions. So who knows? By the time we are successful at all of these different digital integrated systems that we are introducing, we obviously.
So I still, Daniel, this tariff launch that is,
So these things are in two phases, right? Let me begin with the EFDs first. These electronic fiscal devices. So they come in three folds. There are three devices that will be supplied by the LRA to these businesses and institutions. The first one is called the electronic cash register, the electronic fiscal printer, and the electronic signature device.
Mm-hmm. All three will be at
yes, obviously. All three will be, for example, it's a hotel. So now here's how it's going to work, okay. Right? So the cash register, it serves more like when you go to the supermarket to buy, your goods and products are monitored by the system, and then you have a receipt that is generated afterwards. So this device is going to do the same thing. It's going to be attached to their already existing system. Okay. So as they record in their system, this system is also recording automatically the transactions that happen by person after person. So it could be grocery stop, hair salon, boutique, as long as it's where we deal with things like goods and services tax, because this is goods and services driven. Okay. So these are things, these are businesses and institutions that either sell products or offer services. So the fiscal printer is one that prints your receipt for your customer. So when you go to buy from a supermarket, for example, that receipt that is printed should also be printed from this printer. Because that is the way we track the system to know that if you bought X, Y, and Z products from this particular business center, these were the things that were bought, the proper GST was deducted, and we can take reference. Say, for example, you went to an entertainment center, TETEE, and after you took a few bottles, if you do, the bartender comes and writes down on the paper, and then he puts GST at the end, goods and services tax at the end, and put the deduction there. How sure are you that that revenue reaches the LRA? You cannot be sure. So what this device does is that when you go to a restaurant and you buy a few bottles after having your nice lunch, no one's going to come and write something down to you, X, Y, and Z. That system is going to print out. And then we can track and monitor that the GST was deducted from what services rendered to you.
So what is it incumbent upon me now as a good citizen to
So
make sure?
Definitely to request and demand your receipt. Not even request, but demand it.
You can report that to the LRA and the business institution. We will withhold your information, but we will be able to take the necessary precautions to ensure that this doesn't happen again. And interestingly, the way that this device works is if the businesses do not print what is called a Z report at the end of day, this device does not work the next day.
Mm-hmm.
It is automatic.
Yeah,
so,
so from
unless you print the report for today, you cannot use it tomorrow. And if you fail to use it, of course, it's on you, and the LR is going to come after you to ensure that you do that. Because we're trying to ensure transparency. We can all but try to be at least 99% to 100% at these processes.
And people are going to try hard to fraud the system.
But
it's going to be difficult because here is the thing.
If I went to a supermarket and I know that I went to an entertainment center and this tax you're talking about, when they brought the bill, because you look at, how much you pay for this, but then they say this tax is for the LRA. Whether it goes to the LRA, it's just on the receipt, and they say they take it from the money, right? You pay for that. So I don't know whether it goes to the LRA or not.
Yes.
So that system you're trying to install is going to make sure that, that
so you get a digital receipt. It's not manual. So you must first input all of the sales. So you go to the supermarket, you shop. Of course, the receipt that is generated, this time not from their device, but from the EFD, must have your list, your cartoon list of everything you've bought, the prices, the full total, and then the GST is applied. So when it enters the system, then you demand your receipt.
So unless I
demand that of course, and that is part of the awareness. They have to give you, but the receipt has to be demanded, because with the receipt, it is possible that when the thing is recorded in the system and you didn't generate a receipt, then it's possible that the chances are it may not really be recorded in the system. But here is another thing that the system does. As long as the receipt is generated and that information goes into the device, it is incontrovertible. You can reverse it, you can delete that information, and you can edit the information.
Okay.
So at the end of the day, that information that is recorded in the system for which you got a fiscal, receipt to that transaction cannot be altered. It cannot be changed at all once it enters the system. So from there, it's going straight to the archives or to the big server where the Commissioner General and others can look at and monitor your transaction.
Liberians are very tricky. We are, and even foreigners who do business here are very tricky. And because we're not used to asking for those receipts, it's easy for somebody to still, defraud the system. So this now you will rely on citizens.
That is why we're trying to build the compliance.
The awareness, obviously, the awareness around compliance.
To tell people that when you go, just get your receipt. Ask for it. You're entitled to it. And if anyone refuses to give you a receipt, of course, it raises, eyebrows.
Now,
sometimes we don't pay attention to these things. We don't really care. But it's good for us to pay attention, because this is how, we generate revenue.
Definitely.
For the roads to be
fixed,
for the schools to be built.
Yeah. So here is another angle. So within the regulations, there are times that the machines could have default, right? So it is incumbent upon that business person, the business owner, to communicate with the Commissioner General in the case in point where the machine runs into default. You must communicate that to the Commissioner General within 24 hours. We're not even giving you, so we're not even giving you more than 24 hours. But of course, when you tell us there's default and you communicate to us, guess what? Then we send our agents there to go and look at it, whether there's an actual default or whether there's a created or artificial default. So at the end of the day, you cannot lie on the machine when the machine is operative and is functional and is working well.
Definitely.
We will definitely get you, and at the end of the day, you will be penalized according to the laws of, on the book. And so the EFD, what we are trying to do, if you look at America and other countries that are flourishing with the tax regime and tax system, I know I hear people say, oh, we don't have tax returns and blah, blah, blah in Liberia. The Commissioner General has always said it's because we do not have the capacity that creates a system to have these kinds of things coming into being. All right? America lives on the system. America survives on the system. And so when we create a system that is being modeled after international best practice or practices, and we see that it is working, guess you what? We're going to have a spectacular uptick, because the system and the different processes will definitely stave off a lot of the discrepancies that could happen without the employment of a system that works.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've got two gentlemen here who are very good talkers, and so it's not easy this morning. But I want you guys to talk about what is this partnership with the NHA and the LEC.
So yeah. Before we go there, TT, let me just pick it back on the e-tariff portal.
On the 2 minutes.
Yeah. Please, very quickly. It's very important.
Okay.
And this is at the LRA. What we do is that. So we've got two kinds of taxes, amongst many. Domestic tax, under which you have all of the real estate, GST, blah, 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 and all of that. And then you have customs. Now, under customs, the LRA, along with, in collaboration with the World Customs Organization, has embarked on a very important system called the e-tariff portal. Now, this is a new system that is coming forward to all of our importers, manufacturers, and even those bringing in their personal, belongings and personal effects. What this system will do, and VARFEE, in passing mentioned the training of customs officers, and this is towards this end. So they were trained, not being, but they were trained in two phases. 20 plus persons in the first phase and 20 plus persons in the second phase. What this is meant to achieve is to ensure that all of the different tariffs relating to customs, port management, will, be available online. What does this do? This means that this online portal will ensure that the entire tariff system, duty, all other relevant information relating to customs tariff will be online. Interestingly, what is good to note for business people is that you can go to China or Dubai or wherever, get your goods, load your container, and on this system that will be hopefully launched in the first week in September, will ensure that you can even calculate your duties online to have a fair value of what you to pay when your container hits the port. This will ensure that you're not guessing. You're not thinking that I should pay 1,000, I should pay 2,000. You're not also you're going to depend on your brokers, yes, but you, the one that's bringing the container or bringing the shipment or the manufacturer, the importer, you're going to know exactly
how much you're going to pay.
How much you're going to pay.
Instead of relying on a broker to tell you.
I mean, you will rely on them, obviously you have to, but the room for error will be less. That they will not trick you and say your duty is 10,000, and I need this to carry out the process, because you know what the actual duty is. And that is called the duty estimator. Interestingly, TT, as of last week, the online portal for the e-tariff system has gone live in its test phase. This means that when you click on that link, which is only available internally at the LRA, when you click on that link, you can search all of the different tariffs, you can search for available information relating to customs, and you can also go to the e-tariff custom estimator or calculator. Just like we do now on our website with real estate, you can go there and calculate your real property. You will now have, by September, you will now have the ability to go online and calculate from the customs calculator and calculate your duties. This will alleviate a lot of problems. People fight and force every day over what they're supposed to pay when it relates to customs. And that is why I wanted to highlight that this will be coming into force first
Next
week in
month,
September.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So let's talk about this NHA and LEC partnership with you.
Yep. The IRA also is an institution that is not looking to stand alone. In all of our tax modernization and tax administration systems, we look forward to partnering with other government institutions because it is only through partnership that we can achieve, the overall development of the country. Having said that, we've been in talks with LEC and NHA, and so let me begin with the LEC part. And my boss VARFEE has, seconded me to be on most of these engagements, technical working groups on these partnership arrangements. The partnership beginning with LEC seeks to achieve two things. One, of course, increase revenue and fight power theft.
How?
Thank you. At the LRA, what we're doing is we're also carrying out a system that seeks to share data with these institutions, such as the LEC. What we now do, or what we're now in the process of doing with LEC, is to build a sort of compliance culture. And let me break that down for you. Daniel ANKRAH is connected to LEC. He lives in his own property in Duazon, for example. Right? He's connected to LEC, but he's not paying his real estate. LEC shares that data with us, those that they have as registered, customers. And we can come to you, not to come and put taxes and penalties and fees on you, but we come and bring the awareness to you. It's more of a direct approach. So we come to you and say, you're already benefiting from power, right? You're paying for it though, but it's a part of the immunity government provides. And it's part of taxpayers' money that's running the system. So you need to pay your real property. Then we engage you and we take you through the process. Our tax agents will come on the field to help you to be able to do that. On the flip side of it, if you're paying real property, unfortunately, you somehow, not through the right means, connected to the LEC grid. What does this mean? This means that we're going to be fighting power theft because when LEC comes to you, we will share data with LEC and say these are the people who are paying real property, for example. And LEC comes to these communities, specifically to these homes, to be able to encourage them, to get their meter and get onto the system and enjoy, power.
Don't get me wrong. That's a very good idea. How many homes, home owners are, connected to LEC?
Beautiful. So, I mean,
ahead,
one of the things, and that is a real salient concern. The truth is, in order for these very great, ideas to work 100%, there must be an understandable collaboration that derives an effective plan, all right, that promotes effective service delivery. Because at the end of the day, if we told you that, look, if you pay your real property taxes, you're supposed to pay your LEC bills, it means that the both of them would rely hugely on one another. Meaning, as you live in the rented house and you're only paying LEC bill and not paying for that home, we will have to get to you through that kind of collaboration. If you're paying the real property taxes on your homes and not paying the LEC bill, of course, LEC shares that data with us, and we are also able to get to you, as well as LEC getting to you. So that kind of partnership would help to also, in the back end, ensure that the service providers are also meeting up with the growing demands of the public. Because at the end of the day, there's going to be an uptick in the revenue. And people obviously will want to see that they're benefiting in little ways from the taxes that they pay. And so that collaboration, and like we said, is an ongoing process. It's not an event. It's not going to happen automatically. So one of the first things we are doing is to first ensure that we capture through a capturing process. We want to enlist or capture all of the real estate or real properties that are not within our tax net, in our database. Now, when we have you, sorry?
Every time I hear that, you guys
See,
are
that is
capturing.
you can
the
never
truth
100% conclude. You know why? Because every day people are building new homes.
People are building new
so
homes,
you want to add
and
as much as possible.
even the ones that are being built or the ones that are already built, as much as they were not paying real property taxes, all right, it's time now that good. It's time we run behind them now to say, hey.
Homes, they don't have LEC, and so they want to pay for electricity.
So we're going to start with the ones that are under the LEC grade. And that is why it's, LRA LEC collaboration. So the ones that are benefiting under the LEC grade, we want to make sure that you're in compliance with the real property taxes as well as your LEC payment or your LEC bills payment. Because at the end of the day, if you did not, if you falter on one of the two, it also takes away from the overall revenue that government is supposed to get at the end of the day. The monies that are supposed to go towards the building of roads, towards paying salaries, those monies will be cut, by a significant amount because of tax evasion. And that is a major problem that we are dealing with under this tax regime.
Quickly with the NHA, similarly, the LRA in collaboration with the National Housing Authority is looking at national housing units.
It's the same thing, right?
Yeah, it's the same thing. So the same way we, especially for, and we also adding those who have included who have properties who have been either mortgaged or have sold, the government have sold lands to you as a result of these processes. So it's not only those who are staying in the national housing units, but also those who, homes have gone through the mortgage process. So we're also sharing data, to ensure that this happens. And I'd like to add that currently, and that announcement is currently running even on ELBC radio, currently, we're going through this arrangement with the Ministry of Justice. And this exercise, this announcement or awareness exercise would expire by August 31st. We are currently publishing homes, abandoned properties, vacant land. Some of these people who own these homes, we have their names, we've reached out to them. They have bluntly refused to pay their real property taxes. Some of them, you cannot find the owners of these homes. You go to a community, you see an open field, you don't know who it belongs to, but people are using it, and as long as people are using it, taxes should be paid on them. So after August 31st this year, the Ministry of Justice along with the LRA will be carrying out enforcement, and enforcement to an extent where some of these properties, if their true owners cannot come to the LRA to discuss payment terms, will be sold.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Because
we've been published.
We've been running behind these people
for
years.
Is it only Monrovia? Is it Montserrado? Or?
Yeah, it's across Montserrado, and of course we're gonna replicate it, to other counties. And so we're publishing those properties. We want to use this medium to call on people who know that they've abandoned their properties and vacant lands. They're there and in color, so you can see your property and identify it just by looking at it. And if you didn't go to ensure that that property is registered and the right due tax, obviously we have to get it. We have to get those taxes.
In Central Monrovia,
they're all across.
Okay.
Some of them right in Central Monrovia.
But let me bring this one up.
Yeah.
The disappearance of one of your colleagues at the LRA. We know that this case. We heard from the police; they are investigating. But what happened?
Well,
let me begin on that.
Okay.
Firstly, we at the LRA, the Commissioner General and his team, we are, saddened by the sudden disappearance of one of our colleagues, from the real estate tax division. And I like to say that we're not an institution that, is going to be responding to what we see on social media. We're a responsible institution. We remain committed to the welfare of our employees and our staff. The LRA is one of the safest places you can work. I won't be working at the LRA, if the LRA was not a safe place to work.
Okay.
The
So what
police is currently investigating the matter. Last week, the family met with the Commissioner General, and most of that discussion I cannot disclose to you because we do not want to alter the police investigation. The police is currently investigating. In fact, the police has also put out a bolo for anyone who knows the whereabouts of Mr. Sayamore, and we do not want to go in depth because going in depth could do a lot of things. One, it could hurt the family. I would not want my family member to be missing and it's all over social media and people are talking about it or posting their pictures here and there for the purpose of finding, yes, but not for other purposes.
Okay, so I agree with you, and this is something we do in this country, which is so bad, especially given what happened in Buchanan or Ambassador County, and people were just posting that gruesome picture on Facebook. Is very, very sad. But to your colleague, what I wanted to know from you is, did he just not come to work one day, and what is his, job at the LRA?
So at the LRA, he is an enforcement officer, real property
What does an enforcement
So an
officer
enforcement officer
Tax
is
enforcement.
tax enforcement officer. A tax enforcement officer is, especially in the real estate tax division, is one that goes out to institute foreclosures and to also create awareness. But most times, it's at the point where it's reached the point of either serving you a 72-hour notice that if you didn't pay your real property taxes, you could be closed in a certain time. And then later, if you didn't comply, they will come and carry out what we call foreclosure. Okay. So those are the real, the tax enforcement officers at the level of the real estate tax division. And so VARFEE will share on some of
Did he go missing while he was on the job?
No, honestly. So here is here is what happened, and I like to start by saying the LRA has, as a professional institution, has got policies that we can afford to violate, based on public sentiments and the way people would respond to things. I know sometimes the tendency to politicize issues, the tendency is there, but LRA is not a political institution, all right? We do taxes, and taxes are the universal quotient of any society, any flourishing society for that matter. It is the lifeblood. It is that lifeblood that runs the society. And so we are basically concerned with how we reach out to people to ensure that government collects lawful revenue. And that is our main business. In the carry out of this exercise, it's only possible that there are externalities, right? There are there are extent to which the external work of our employees sometimes could run obviously in conflict with people, some of whom we've got no ideas about. And so someone goes missing after he was on the job, he got suspended and was subjected to an investigation. And that investigation was supposed by the PED. We have a professional standard division at the LRA. So he was being investigated, and coming out of the investigation was a report that really cleared them of all of the allegations. I think there were about 15 in number, right, that were facing the investigation. Just about the time that the letters were written for them to resume work, all right, and they were calling them back to offices, it then appeared apparent to us that his phones could not be reached.